Good morning. I came downstairs to my had been set up live stream to discover the children who were watching cartoons. So I had to reconfigure quickly. Give me just a minute. I'm just going to tweet that we are live. Hold on a moment. Kiddo, I have a dog that needs to go outside, please. I'm just tweeting out that this is now live. And we'll get started. Kiddo, your pup needs to go out. All right, so it has been a fun week. I've had a few people joining. We'll give folks a moment to. Can you please take your adorable dog and let him go? Go, 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 go. We have a pup that is trying to join. Go play. Let's go potty. Come on. I know, but go potty. I know, but go potty. Will you please make sure he goes out? I am the most interesting thing in the house this morning. Oh my goodness. Yes, you're very sweet. Thank you. I'm a little busy though. I'm a little busy. Where's your boy? Go find your boy. Go find your boy. Go get him. All right, there we go. I apologize. Sometimes the pets try to take over. It happens. Usually it's Drama Cat running behind me, trying to chew the pens out of my hair. So, good morning. It's we've got folks joining us. It took a couple minutes extra to get ready this morning because I came down here and my children very sneaky and woke up early to watch cartoons. So they were down here and had moved the setup from last night. So one of the things that I have to juggle as a parent and as an attorney is the setup I use for this, where it's very casual and comfortable and I'm on my sofa, is very different than the setup that I use for court, which needs to be very, bookcase in the background, professional and appropriate. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to be sitting on my living room sofa for trial. So I have been bouncing back and forth with trials and other mediations and judicial settlement conference. Most of court is still remote, which has actually been a huge blessing for clients. So in the before times, most things were not remote for court. It was just a periodic telephone check-ins, but everything else was in person. And moving remote has offered a lot of benefits, particularly to clients who are not not financially well off. It allows them to stretch their dollars because they don't have to pay me or other attorneys to drive to court. It also helps in domestic violence situations, but different setups for cameras. So, good morning. We've had a few more people join. It is September 17th. This is Breakfast with Tiffany. It's very casual, very informal way for us to talk. If you have questions, comments, or concerns that pop up, please drop them in the chat. I'll answer them as I go. And the format for these is I usually start with some stories or things that have been going on for the week or my impressions. And if questions come in, I answer those. I haven't yet had a question I wouldn't answer. I suppose there's a couple. They'd generally be related to personal matters that would not necessarily be relevant. So I try to be as available as possible this weekend. This is Apple Sunday this weekend, so I'm going to be out in the community a lot. You'll be able to find me at events, but not everybody can travel. Not everybody has the gas to be able to travel. Not everybody has a vehicle. Not everybody can drive. And Maine has pretty crummy public transportation in most of the rural areas. So you're pretty much bound by a vehicle or a friend with a vehicle or a service with a vehicle, which is also difficult to find. So it is difficult to get around rural Maine. So I try to be as accessible as possible. Obviously, internet is also an issue. Hold tight a second. Yes, thank you. My 11-year-old is surprising me by making one of the teas that I got last weekend at the cheese festival that he's going to have me figure out which one it is. So that's, I think, lovely. So we only really have public transportation in some of our larger for Maine cities. They wouldn't qualify as large for most cities, unless you're in Lewiston area or unless you're in Bangor. Just buses incredibly limited. Conveniently, most of the towns are small enough that you can walk around them, but it's very difficult to get between towns if you don't have some form of vehicle in Maine. So that's part of why we do 2 of these a week. The Tuesday ones are becoming a little bit more structured. They're usually more topical. These are very free form and just sort of what happened for the week. I'm in my PJs. This is absolutely what I look like on, on a Saturday morning. I don't do anything different. And part of that is, I think it's really important to get an authentic look at who you're hiring for jobs that are this important. So you get real me. You don't get gussied up, glamour shots, puffy hair. Like I just am not interested in being that person. I know that a lot of people wouldn't. I've actually gotten some interesting messages where like, you don't look like you have makeup on TV. And like, who wears makeup on a Saturday morning? I don't wear makeup on a Saturday morning. In fact, I don't even wear makeup on if I'm in court. Makeup's a date night feature. That's about the only time I put that on. Sometimes for TV, I'll put on mascara or something just because my eyes. I have blonde lashes, so you don't always see them, and makes it a little hard to see me on TV. So this week was a fun week. We had some faux nobility from one of the challengers in around the debates. So debates are coming up, and we talked a little bit about this last time. There are 4 debates that are scheduled. I RSVP'd to all 4. The gentlemen each RSVP'd to 3, but it's not the same 3. And so we were mulling before, what happens with that? Do I get to go to all 4? And then I get a one-on-one with each of the gentlemen? Because that would be really fun for me and probably really fun for you too as the viewer. A little sad because I'm running against both a sitting and a former congressman, and they're both pretty bad at the job, unfortunately. So the Democrat in the race, Jared Golden, this week came out in a flourish saying that he would only attend events that all 3 candidates were at, which is, of course, the appropriate stance to take. All people who make the ballot. I'm hearing noises coming from the kitchen from my 11-year-old that are definitely not noises that should happen with making tea. So if you hear me laughing a little bit, looking concerned, it just sounds like a pot rack fell in there. So yeah, of course, it's the right stance to take that anybody who is qualified for the ballot should be in the debates. The levels, when you're talking about debates, you're talking about a fairly high level of hurdle to get on the ballot. It took me about 430 hours. I'm not shy about that at all. It was a lot of time to get on the ballot. It is not a reasonable burden to put on people who want to participate in their government. We should have an easier to access process for the average citizen to participate. And that's part of why we have such crummy governance. It's very difficult to say, I think I'm going to run for office. I think I have the qualifications. I think I'd be good at it, and do it. It is virtually impossible. And that's one of the things I talk about a lot in my campaigns. My campaigns are very much like, what does it look like when a regular person who doesn't have millions of dollars, who can't take time off work, runs for office? And you heard me talk about that earlier. Like, I have trial, and I actually have, a law court case right now. So sometimes in cases, people appeal, and family court matters in Maine go directly to law court. Law court is the equivalent of the Supreme Court, but at the state court. So it's the highest court in the land. And those are very big deals. Those are pages and pages and pages. They have to be perfectly written. They have to, they have to be perfectly formatted. You can't have typos. You have to have great citations. It is a perfection science that is actually very departed from what family law is generally. So I don't do a whole lot of law court cases. I've won. I've never lost a law court case, but it is a, that's a level of stress that comes in. So, when you are a working person, and I have a fairly high stress job that I don't find particularly stressful, but it is a job with a lot of responsibilities and burdens on it. But what if you worked at Dunkin' Donuts and wanted to run for office? What if you felt like people who were paid close to minimum wage weren't well represented, and we would all benefit from having somebody in who had that? Could you afford to take, 3, 6, 12 months off to run? Probably not. Could you afford, you have to have money to fundraise the money. Could you have that? I have chosen not to do that. I've so far still spent under $5,000. I've used a bunch of crowdsourcing techniques to show that it is possible to run for office very, very low dollar. But we don't have a system that's particularly approachable. And one of the ways that we limit people's participation is by making it difficult to participate in debates. And we end up with this self-fulfilling prophecy where you don't have the money or attention to get in the debates or be covered by the paper, so you'll never get the money or attention to ever have enough money or attention to get covered by the debates and the paper. And our media is just an incredibly bad job of including people. I've gotten included a little bit better this year, and I think that's only because in 2018, though I didn't win, we did test some really important things together. We tested a model to run, which so far I think has been fairly successful. It's a little harder to do Maine raising in a district race than it is in a statewide race. It's logistically difficult to say, hey, we have over 390 municipalities. Could you please shop in any of those 390 municipalities? And I can make lists available if you want. Just aim for the rural-ish areas. That is more difficult than saying just buy anything in Maine. So the one thing I don't like about Maine raising is that it is not as easy to do logistically for a race that isn't statewide. But, taking that out of it, trying to figure out ways to run as a regular person with regular resources. I've tried to keep myself low dollar. $5,000 is the reporting threshold. So far, I haven't hit it. I know that Sam Hunkler, who is running for governor, is also trying to stay under $5,000. And it's difficult to come up with $5,000 for almost any American. Most people don't have $5,000 laying around. It's also difficult to fundraise to and past it. It's sort of, for those of you on social media, it's sort of like when you have an account with like 10 followers. How do you get to the 10,000 followers? And usually it's years of slogging away and working, and maybe you're fortunate and get something that goes viral that gives you attention. And running for office is very much like that. You almost have to have something ridiculous or weird happen for you to get any attention. I think it's astonishing that I am getting more attention because the Democrats said I should be included than I am for being competent, qualified, knowing about the law. I would be a decent candidate to do this job. Being qualified doesn't get you attention. Somebody saying something about you who has money gets attention, which is just a horrifying premise. So Jared Golden has taken the stance, and there's multiple ways you can view this, and they're all true. He's taken the stance that I should be included in any debate that he's in, all three candidates. And that is true. That is a true statement. I appreciate him being supportive with that. It's also true that it's incredibly beneficial for Jared Golden to take that stance. So it's beneficial for two reasons. It's beneficial because that limits the number of times he has to debate. We are hitting an era, and we've seen this over the last 4 or 5 years, where candidates don't want to debate. They want to rely on marketing that they can control and put out, interviews that they can do. They want to rely on that as their presence because that's a controllable source of information. You can control the tone, you control the volume, and you have the money to produce these things professionally in almost all contexts. So it is definitely not as favorable to do debates. I don't mind debates. It's kind of like my day job when you litigate at trials. Very similar. And I wouldn't say I'm the best debater that ever debated, but certainly I do it much more frequently in my day job than the gentlemen do. So taking a stance that only folks who should be at a certain threshold is the other stance that has been taken. That's been taken by Bruce Poliquin. It benefits Bruce Poliquin to say, I only want to be on stage with a Democrat who's not going to point out all of the catastrophic flaws from when I was in office. Jared Golden is much less likely to point out specific bill numbers or describe in detail what is wrong with the choices that he has made as a legislator. If you watch the clip that is pinned to my Twitter, you'll see them kind of bickering back and forth, and that's unfortunately how debates go. They go look at a lot of political debates. Team red, team blue, team red, team blue, and not answering the question. A lot of pre-formed sound bites that They're really not even caring if they're debating. They want to get that clip so that it can be shared on social media, not being responsive to what the debate moderator is doing. And so it benefits both of them to limit participation. Essentially, Jared Golden may have taken it so he only has to be in one debate. It also benefits Jared Golden to say, I want Tiffany included, because Jared Golden presumes, probably rightly so, because Poliquin's pretty much a goober. It presumes that my supporters are likely to rank him next. And so it gives him that extra, hey, I asked for her to be included in the debates, despite the fact that it also limits the amount of debates he has to be in. And Bruce Poliquin has taken the stance that ranked choice voting doesn't benefit me. So I don't think I'm going to get a lot of Tiffany's number 2 votes if I need them. So I'm just going to try and ice her out. And I have definitely heard from media that Bruce Poliquin is trying to get me excluded from all the debates. The 15% threshold for one of the debates that was set is remarkably high. It's unusually high. It is not a debate number that's generally used. It's usually 1 or 5%. Not that it matters, because there are no polls anywhere on this race. There are polls being conducted, so I suspect that neither gentleman is polling well at all. If either gentleman was polling well, what you would hear is campaigns releasing statements that, Jared Golden polls at 51%, or Bruce Poliquin, neck and neck with Jared Golden, give us more money. I suspect they're both polling very low in their own internal polls, because if they were polling higher, we would be hearing about it in ads. We saw that with Sarah Gideon. As soon as she hit 40%, 40%, I'm going to start fundraising more off this. Give me just a little bit more money. I'll claw my way there, and raise an ungodly amount of money out of our pockets to do nothing and hold on to at the end of the election. So I suspect that neither one of them is polling well. I suspect neither one of them wants to debate. So that's an interesting drama that was created by both of them trying to get out of the debates. And I did have somebody ask me the other day, because I was questioning perhaps Jared Golden's sincerity in wanting to support me there. They said, oh, no, he made this big statement. I'm like, yeah, well, he also ding-dong ditched me for the third debate in 2018 and was not very honest with NPR about it, or the Maine public. So I find it real hard to believe that he's completely authentic and sincere there, based on past experiences, we'll just put it. So I haven't seen any questions yet. I'm going to keep chatting, and if you have anything that you need, go ahead and drop it in there. I may also try my tea that my child brought over, although it's very, very, very hot. I'm a little afraid to go back in the kitchen because it sounds like you knocked over every pot and pan there. And the dog is still trying to join our chat. Hi, pup. Do you want to say hi? You can come up. So if you have not met our dog before, this is Gunnar. I just call him Dog. Very fancy. Come here, Teresa. Give me a hug. Oh, good boy. So he is a very loving, friendly, wonderful dog that is with us most of the time. Sometimes he goes up to camp with my husband. Yeah. Oh, yes, you're very sweet. He is definitely a kisser. So other things that have happened this week, we found out more about classified documents with the former president. I hate that we have to talk about this. It is inappropriate for anybody to be taking national secrets, and I don't care what your political party is. You should be able to reflect back and say, this is not okay. We don't have members of the Republican Party. They have decided, instead of holding their candidates and their members to what is right, they have decided to circle the wagons and defend whatever was done as right. And that's just not okay. You should hold members of your own party to a higher standard. When I get mad at Republicans, it's often it's the part of me that leans conservative that is more mad at them than the parts of me that lean liberal. I am more frustrated that they are taking things that I hold dear as a part of my ethics and sort of making a mockery of them. Speaking of mockery, there was some immigrants that were taken up to Martha's Vineyard as a political stunt. Totally inappropriate. We have got to get away from a place where we use sensation and harm to people, to fundraise, to make points. It is just not how politics should be. Politics should be identifying problems, troubleshooting, testing what a variety of different yes, hi. Yes, you're very sweet. Sorry, he's got a lean going on. Testing what a variety of different solutions might be in the time allotted and the resources available, and coming up with a solution that helps all of us. It is astonishing that we have gotten to this place where we're literally watching people be trafficked on live TV to prove a point about immigration. Like none of that is good. It's financially wasteful. It's demonstrative hell, and it's human trafficking. It's literally a human rights violation. So it's astonishing that that's where we are in politics. Hold politicians to account for that. Do not let them get away with that. Don't ever, if I somehow end up in a warped world where I do something that's even remotely close to that, don't let me get away with that. None of us should get away with that. And I think that's one of the things that we've really gotten away from. Larger point than just people being trafficked on live TV for political stunts, but we need to get to a point where we hold people that are willing to make our rules to those rules and to ethical standards. We once upon a time, sensation and shame was helpful in guiding the behavior of folks. It's not, and we need to get back to that space. We shouldn't have bad faith actors making the rules for our society. It's astonishing that we're there. I have talked for about 20 minutes with the assistance of the dog, who really is very needy today. It's charming, but also a lot. You'd think that you would never recognize that this dog has been near my lap almost all week while I've been trying to conduct court events. So if you have any questions, you can drop them in. We will be back on Tuesday. There are going to be some Tuesdays coming up. There's at least one Tuesday that there may be a debate being filmed at the same time. If it's not filmed exactly at 7, I will go on. I'll just bring the computer with me. But if it is being filmed at 7, if there's a little bit of lacking clarity, then we'll have to either skip or reschedule that one. This weekend, like I said, I'm going to be out at Apple Orchards probably. I think we're going to head out in a little bit after I try this tea, which I was going to do with you guys because it's a local tea, but I don't think I can with him up in my face. I think that would be a sitcom moment that I am not willing to have live on the internet, and would probably be very damp. So we're going to skip that. But you will be able to see me. There's a whole bunch of debates and interviews. The next 2-3 weeks in particular are going to have lots of media in it. If you don't see me included something, feel free to say something. If you happen to have a connection to any national show, I'm happy to go on. Not particularly photogenic, but I think I come across as at least a person who's giving you real information. The reason why we're going to have such a push in the next few weeks is we're getting towards early voting. So votes go out pretty far in advance in Maine, or ballots go out pretty far in advance in Maine. And you want that. Our military wouldn't be able to vote without it. For example, they need time for the mail to get all around the globe and back. So you'll see media coverage that's really starting to kick up next week. The week after, I'm doing the first filming of debates. So you will see some of that. I also have, I'm not sure how they're going to handle it. I need to ask this question myself. I've been invited to some forums that I know the other candidates have been invited to, but I strongly suspect they will not show up to. So if those forums go on, I will certainly participate. If they don't, I mean, that loops back to what we were saying earlier. It's been a really unfortunate choice that a lot of folks running for office have just decided that they don't need to participate in unscripted formats to be accountable to voters. They would just rather be in places where they can control it and exclude people. So I hope that those events do still go on. I hope it's very obvious when they're not participating, because voters deserve better. I'm always a voter first, and I think we deserve better. So thank you. I will see you Tuesday, and I'm going to go pick some apples. Have a good one. Oh, buddy. Oh, hi.